Welcome back. We are seeing a lot of upgrades to several companies lately being announced to the stock exchanges. So we thought we should get the rating guys themselves. Joining us now is K. Ravichandran, Deputy Chief Ratings Officer at ICRA, and Somashekar Vemuri, Senior Director, CRISIL Ratings. Gentlemen, good morning and thank you very much for joining us. First, a universal view, and then we come to the sectoral questions. Somashekar, would you say that the percentage of incremental ratings is dominated more by upgrades than downgrades?
Yes. So we saw this trend even in Q4 and H2 of last year, where we were seeing incrementally more number of upgrades compared to downgrades. For the second half, it was 1.33, the credit ratio, more upgrades than downgrades. And that trend has continued to persist even in the first quarter of this year. So incrementally, we are seeing more upgrades continue to be there compared to downgrades.
Okay, and any numbers you can put to that? By what is the number of upgrades and what is the number of downgrades, or percentage or ratio?
The trend has continued. We are in the process of collating the numbers, so I will not be able to share an exact number. But it is the buoyancy which we saw in Q4 persists in Q1 as well.
Even tell us whether it is 56, whether it is 55, 45, 40, 60. I won't hold you to it, but approximately, no?
Something like 75, 35 is what I would say.
That's very good.
Would be the number. But again, this is only looking at upgrades and downgrades. There is a fair number of companies which get reaffirmed also. So I'm excluding that bit in this analysis.
Okay. A similar question to you, Ravichandran. What has been the experience at ICRA? And if you can put some numbers to the downgrade-upgrade ratio.
Sure. In ICRA's case as well, since November 2020, we have been seeing that upgrades are outnumbering downgrades. In fact, so much so that in the first quarter of the current financial year, upgrade-downgrade ratio is almost 2.2 times, excluding some of these issuer non-cooperation cases. So where are these upgrades coming up? Primarily, in the sectors like renewable energy, commercial real estate, to some extent in chemicals and specialty chemicals space. So the buoyancy has been continuing. Also because of the fact that many of the companies have been able to improve their liquidity position, able to that has given them enough buffer to withstand the demand side pressures, and some companies are also doing well on account of sharp rise in the demand and pricing.
So you said, Mr. Ravichandran, that in renewable energy and specialty chemicals, you're seeing more upgrades than downgrades. What about all these traditional sectors, metals, IT? What is the trend looking like over there? And where are you seeing still no signs of a major recovery?
Yeah, see, in the case of metal specifically, especially steel, segment, we have seen a good amount of upgrades. Large steel companies, especially the integrated companies, have been able to generate record amount of profits over the last 1 year. And importantly, they've been able to deleverage. And today the balance sheet looks very different compared to what we saw 1 year back. So they've been able to prepay their debt and improve the credit metrics, and that is resulting in improvement in the credit profile. With regard to IT sector, by and large, it has been stable. We're not seeing either improvement or deterioration. Anyway, most of these companies are rated highly because of the low leverage. Coming to the sectors which we are seeing pain, in fact, in ICRA's portfolio, we still have about 15 sectors wherein we have negative outlook, which includes sectors like aviation, airport infrastructure, all tourism-related sectors. And NBFC, within NBFC, we have, microfinance institutions, asset financing companies, so on and so forth. But within NBFC, we have a stable outlook on brokerages, infrastructure financing in NBFCs, and even insurance also having a stable outlook. But as I mentioned, there are 15 sectors wherein still we have negative outlook. We need to watch out, for their performance, before we, change the outlook to stable. So now that we are concerned about the possible third wave and also different variants hitting some of these sectors, rebound, we are being more watchful than ever, before changing our outlook.
Okay. Well, actually, from CRISIL, I already have a report, Somashekar, which says that you have a lot of high resilience or high recovery in sectors like power, agrochemicals, specialty chemicals, telecom, pharmaceuticals, autos, gas distribution, dairy, oil and gas, etc. And then you have something called medium recovery in things like construction, edible oil, power gencos, hospitals, and very low recovery in things like automotive dealers and gems and jewelry. Am I right? That is your division, Somsekhar?
That's right. We have roughly about 40% of the debt sitting in companies which are in the high resilient category. About 58% of the debt which is sitting in the medium resilience category, and about 2.5% of the debt which we rate, which is sitting in the low resilience category. And the low resilience ones would be the ones which are contact intensive, hotels, resorts, residential real estate, and the like. Where you do see low resilience, and the high resilience would comprise of companies which typically have very very strong kind of balance sheets, or in terms of business they are in the essential nature of goods and services which they produce, so not as much impacted by them. And the medium resilience categories would be somewhere in the middle, where yes, they are a little bit behind in terms of balance sheet strength or in terms of resilience.
No, got that. So you're saying it is only 2 or 2.5% that is in the low resilient category. If that is your assessment of all the companies you rate, what is your assessment of NBFCs and banks? That means their loans to weak sectors should be very little, isn't it? After all, you're saying only 2% is really weak.
So clearly, in terms of the banking system, if you look at it, the corporate sector, corporate segment, which accounts for the bulk of the banking system exposure, we have seen that the correction, the asset quality recognition and resolutions have been happening over the last 4 to 5 years. So what you see today is a fairly strongish kind of a book. And over the last 4 to 5 years, we have seen that the corporates have been in a consolidating mode, in a deleveraging mode. So their clearly resilience in terms of the COVID impact also has been much stronger, much better. But when we look at the rest of the segments, such as the retail, the MSMEs particularly, I think there are more vulnerabilities which are there in those pockets, and especially given that there is a second wave which has also hit the hinterland. We do expect some degree of stress to kind of build up in the MSMEs and the retail space. That said, some of the relief measures coming from the government, such as expansion in the ECLGS, the scheme from 3 lakh crore to 4.5 lakh crore, plus the restructuring 2.0 announced by RBI, should provide some relief. Nevertheless, we do expect some degree of pain in MSMEs and retail, especially the unsecured kind of segment.
Ravichandran, what is your assessment of the percentage of amount, actually aggregate rupees, which is stressed in MSMEs, retail, the kind of sectors that Somsekhar is also referring to? And therefore, would you worry about NBFCs? I'm asking you because when you looked at a strong bank like HDFC Bank, we could still see the pain in commercial vehicles and in unsecured retail credit. So that's why I'm asking you, where is the pain in the financial sector?
Yeah, so within the financial sector, certainly, high-risk segments would be microfinancial institution,